I'd like to call to order the Iredell County Board of Commissioners meeting, our 6 p.m. regular meeting for Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2024. At this time, I would like to ask Vice Chair Commissioner Nieder to lead us in an invocation, to give us the invocation for the Board of Commissioners as we seek guidance and wisdom in the work we are about to do for the citizens of this county.
Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, seeking clear minds, open ears, and wise words to ensure we receive your guidance as we do the work for the people of our county. We are thankful to live and to serve here. We pray for those who have been negatively impacted from this winter weather. We are thankful for its beauty in nature, however, aware of the dangerous and stressful conditions for those responding to emergency calls and those who are out on the roads dealing with the cold conditions. Please place your protection around all, guide us, keep us safe as we head toward home and all those on the roads this evening. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ask Commissioner Stroud to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask the county manager, do we have any adjustments of the agenda?
Yes, sir, Chair Conley. We have two adjustments. The first is an addition under Administrative Matters, which will be item 8.8, and that's a lease renewal with the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction Probations. And the second addition is under Unfinished Business, and it is the market study examples that we discussed at our small workshop yesterday.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion, we approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Going down our agenda, we did not have any presentation of special awards tonight. Appointments before the board, we will cover those later on in our meeting. Is that correct, Manager?
We actually don't have any.
Okay,
this evening.
gotcha. And now it comes down to our public hearing.
Absolutely. So the public hearing this evening is to consider a request from an applicant to rezone approximately 1.9 acres along Brawley School Road, and Mr. Matthew Todd is here to make this presentation to the board.
Good evening to the board. The property for rezoning tonight is in blue outlined on the screen on Brawley School Road. Currently zoned residential agricultural. The request is to rezone to residential office. Staff does recommend this rezoning as it does match the 2045 Horizon Plan for corridor commercial designation. The property does have various existing commercial uses to the north or east and also across Brawley School Road. And the requested district creates a desirable transition zone between the residential uses and the existing commercial uses. The 2045 plan showing the green area for corridor commercial, which encompasses these parcels. An aerial of the area showing a lot of the commercial uses around it. Brawley School Road looking back toward town with the site on our right, looking directly across and looking further down the peninsula. The board also voted 8-0 to recommend this rezoning, and there was no opposition at planning board, and we've not really heard any opposition on the phone either. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Is that here that wants to?
Yes. The
Okay.
applicant is.
Do you have anything to speak about?
No, just whatever. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Have any applicant, any questions for the applicant or anything? Okay, I'd like to open up this public hearing in reference to consider a request from applicant Aaron Feldman of Lakeshore Holdings LLC to rezone approximately 1.9 acres along Brawley School Road. Open public hearing. We have one signed up, Mr. Jack Binion. Jack, if you can just state your address and your name.
My name's Jack Benyon. I live at 263 Beaten Path Road in Mooresville. I saw this and had a couple of questions. under your required reviews by other agencies in the page 3, it says that the applicant must provide a site plan for parking, landscaping, watershed, et cetera. And I didn't see anything in the pamphlet. I didn't see anything in the presentation where that has been presented. Where there's 2 lots or 2 parcels, and they were talking about how there's septic and well already on the property. Out of those 2 parcels, if the county information is correct, 1 parcel, 1199, doesn't show any septic or well, or at least a septic. 1203 shows a septic for 3 bathrooms and 2 beds, and I may have that backwards because I just looked it up real quick. But I was just curious how that is going to be enough to take care of a building with a storeroom and a second building for retail. And again, back to the part about the presenting the plan, it's a barn, that the place was going to be built as a barn but look like a house. Again, with not having a plan presented, it was just sort of hard to figure out how that is going to look at the end of that property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak on this matter? I will close the public hearing. Mr. Todd, do you want to follow up on anything, or?
Sure, those statements in the staff report, that's the second review that happens. If it's approved, then they have to submit a site plan. It shows how they meet the requirements, the standard requirements that are in the code, parking, landscaping, setbacks. That's the second step that comes if the rezoning is approved. The septic, the same thing. He'll have to apply with environmental health to make sure that the existing system's going to work for what's proposed. If not, he may have to add to it. There's always the chance that it doesn't, that he has to dial back what he's wanting to do in order to meet that.
So to meet all the questions Mr. Binion had, that would be, if it's approved, then in the second step, all of those things would have to be met to meet our requirements. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Anybody got any more questions?
I might be able to answer some of those, it might give you peace of mind too. So we've actually already had the existing septic tested. We had a soil scientist that we hired, Paul Penninger, to actually test the existing septic. The original house was removed prior to us purchasing. With that septic, it is usable. We can't get the actual septic permit until it's rezoned, so it's kind of a chicken and the egg. So once, essentially, if it is approved, we would have it essentially applied to Iredell County. Paul Penninger has actually already been in contact with the county and does a lot of work. We've built 50 homes on the Brawley Peninsula. The goal of the office is to look like a barn dominium, but not be a garage style. So we are not putting, there are dozens and dozens they're building right now that are just garage units. We've built off beaten path. My parents live off Bloom Road as well too. So hundreds of yards away from the property. I only have 6 employees. The septic, being a 3-bedroom septic, for commercial purposes can actually support 30 people working in that office. That being said, the most we will ever have is if I had my entire staff, which my staff doesn't work out of the office as well, so chances are there's usually about 4 people, but if all 6 were there and we had, call it 4 customers, we might have 10 people in there. Being a home builder, we don't have a lot of retail traffic or people coming in. I do think we will have to abandon the well just to meet the requirements on distances, but we're going to keep the septic. And unlike all the other property in that area, if you see the tree line that's in the back, we are not touching it. It's actually part of it's protected as well. you can't clear too much, but some of the trees in the front, unfortunately, I think there's about 3 or 4 we may have to take out for the parking just to meet the zoning requirements. But the best description I could have is most people are probably going to think it's a house, other than the fact that we have to put a parking lot in to meet the RO requirements for the property.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, anybody? Matthew, Todd, you got anything else? Okay. Do we have a motion in reference to this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment and make a finding that said approval is consistent with the 2045 Horizon Plan and is also reasonable and in the public interest because the properties lie within the 2045 Horizon Plan corridor commercial designation, are surrounded by various existing commercial uses, and the requested district creates a desirable transition zone beside a residential area.
Motion by Commissioner Halp. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
This now comes down to our administrative matters that we covered at our 4 o'clock hour. I will turn this now over to the county manager.
Thank you. The following items were items that the board reviewed at the 4 o'clock meeting and agreed by consent to place on the consent agenda. We had a request from Finance for approval of Budget Amendment Number 27 to appropriate fund balance to continue contracting to have Human Resources personnel files scanned in an effort to move towards paperless personnel files. This is in the amount of $25,000 to continue this project. A request from the Finance Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 24 to allocate additional capital money to Iredell Statesville Schools and Mooresville Graded Schools based on the actual sales taxes received in fiscal year 23-24. This is in the amount of $2.6 million, and that'll be allocated to both entities based on ADM. There's a request from Finance to amend the ARPA Special Revenue Grant Ordinance to reallocate current projects for final obligation reporting, and this has to be done by December the 31st of 2024. A request from Administration to approve Budget Amendment Number 26 to transfer funds budgeted in the CIP for the Government Center New Entryway project to cover contingency, and this is in the amount of $200,000. A request from Administration to approve Budget Amendment Number 25 to appropriate ARP-enabled funds to complete the Jennings Park Water and Sewer Project, including contingency. We had a review of the county construction projects update. There was no action that was taken. It was just for informational purposes only. There was a request from Administration to approve the minutes from the meetings on February the 28th, 2023, March 20th, 2023, June 4th of 24, June 12th of 24, September 17th, October 1st, October 10th, and October 15th, all of 2024. And then finally, there was an item that was added to the consent agenda, and that was the review of the lease renewal of the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction probations. And that was to renew there were actually 4 leases for a 3-year term for $1 per year, and to authorize the county manager to sign. Those were all the items that were placed on the consent agenda and reviewed at the 4 o'clock.
With all these items just noted, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
Motion to approve by Vice Chair Nieder. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now brings us down to announcement of vacancies occurring on boards and commissions. We will cover those next meeting. Is that correct, or?
Yes, we do have a few more that we will announce, and that'll be at our next meeting.
Okay. And now we come down to our appointments to boards and commissions. And again, County Manager, can you head that off?
Absolutely. We do have several appointments. We have one appointment on the Recreation Advisory Board. Chris Monarch was recommended for appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. They met on November the 7th and are asking the board to appoint him. And that will be for a 3-year term starting December 31st, 2024. Do you want me to go through each one, or do you want to handle them separately?
All together is fine, I think.
Okay, perfect. There was one appointment on the Board of Health. Dr. Robert Bundy has volunteered to serve for a 3rd term. The Eye Care Board of Directors, they had one appointment. They had Dr. Linda Moser is stepping down, and so they have requested for Tracy Weatherford She has volunteered to serve in that place for the first time. And then Central Carolina Economic Development District, we have 2 appointments. Jen Bozer has volunteered to serve again and serves in that public sector representative, and she is President and CEO of Iredell County Economic Development Commission. And Rodney Harris, our Assistant County Manager, has volunteered to serve for the first time in the public sector government representative role.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of things before we vote. I thought we'd addressed this before, but I just want to ask Beth and the board we had asked that all applications for all boards and committees come to our clerk, and then us to have all the copies of all the applications. There were, I think, 5 or 6 applications to the Recreation Advisory Board, and we only got the one they recommended. So I would suggest, again, moving forward, that we send out something to all the boards and committees and whatever, and have all applications for any board go to our clerk that could come to all of us, so we see all applications that are applying for these various boards, so we can make a decision. We don't always want, the person there is actually on these boards are representing us in most cases. So we want to make sure some of these people are picking people for boards that may be like-minded to them and may not serve the purpose. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying we have mentioned that before, and I'd like to see all applications have to come through our clerk and to us, so we see every applicant for every board.
I was double checking. I think we have one more appointment on that board. When we did this, I think this was the only one we had at that point, but we have other applications, and I think we have one more appointment
Right.
on that. So
Okay.
we're checking to make
Also-
sure what I'm saying is correct, but I'm pretty sure there's still one more, and we have received since we did this.
Sitting on that board, I know we try to save it from coming here, not just me, but we try to find certain areas, we try to get a person in each area. So if they're not there, they're just absolutely knocked out. But if there's several in one area that qualify, then yes, I think we should look at it, but for different reasons. But we have, because we had an applicant here a while back that I really wanted, but they were way away from, where they.
And that was normally the case, because John or Amy beforehand usually made sure all applicants, and we had a kind of a county map if it involved like ETJs or other things that we're trying to cover all areas, to your point. I just like to make sure we see it, and I'm not saying this is an issue, I'm just saying they've got applications, and it may very well be because there's another position that we've announced.
If
And that
I
may be the
remember
case,
correctly,
yeah.
I think there's another one.
Okay.
I think like in that circumstance,
So John just double checked. He said there's a vacant one now, and then there's 2 more that are expiring that are coming up, and we're collecting applications for
Gotcha.
those. Thank you.
I think would be for us to see all applications, but then get the recommendation from
Yeah.
the Rec Advisory Board and why they're recommending that particular is what I think I would
Right.
like to see.
Right,
Yeah, I'd narrow it down.
100%. I mean, I agree with that.
And if you easily say, we want it because of zoning, because we want to make sure the entire county's represented, that
Right.
makes total sense,
Yeah.
even though, so.
Okay, anybody else got anything? Motion to approve these appointments tonight.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Stroud. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? These appointments are approved. This will now bring us down to our unfinished business. And at this moment, I would like to switch the gavel and everything over here to the vice chair.
All right, Manager Milton, if you will, kind of debrief us again for what we discussed during the 4 o'clock hour, and to ensure that we all have the information we need for the. Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is a continuation from our workshop yesterday. The board had asked for some examples of how the different methodologies that the market study consultant that they're using, how that looks, and some examples of how that plays out. So I've given you 4 different positions, and in those 4 different positions, I've given you someone that's been with the county less than a year, and then someone that's been with the county greater than 10 years, and tried to give you some comparisons of how that plays out and the grade or grades that are recommended. So in the first scenario, for the first one, the position is a grade 126. The consultant is recommending that it be increased to 1 grade, which takes it to a 127. And if you look how it plays out, the 3 different things that we looked at time and position, which is how long that employee has been in that specific position, which shows experience in that position. Then we looked at years of service. And sometimes the dates, the years of service and the time and position are the same because they were hired in at that position and they're still in that position. But sometimes they're different because they may have been hired in at one position and have been promoted to another position or taken another position, another department. So when you look at those dates, sometimes they're similar. The first example that I've given you, the years of service and time and position dates are equal. So both individuals were hired in at the same position and they're still in that position. The first individual has been here less than a year and the other individual has been here for over 19 years. And I played it out and showed you what the different methodologies would look like if we looked at just time and position, if we looked at just years of service, or if we looked at a combination of time and position in years of service. The first example, and we talked about this a little bit more in depth at our 4 o'clock meeting, the reason I gave you this as an example for this position is currently the employee that is the long-term employee that's been here over 19 years, they're at the top of their grade. And we had received some questions earlier about how does the market study apply to an individual that's capped out in their grade. So I gave you this as an example that this is how the market study, how it would look for that individual, because right now they're topped out in their grade. So if you look at time and position and years of service or the combination, it doesn't have them receiving anything because they're already at the top of their grade. However, it does have them increasing a grade, which increases that cap. So they're no longer topped out in their grade, which gives them movement in that grade. So that is the only one, and Commissioner Halp had asked the question about, it looks like in this situation that the new employee is receiving funding, but the long-term employee is not. In this situation, that long-term employee, they've already reached the top of that pay scale, which is the goal. That's what we want. But it does increase that top of the pay scale, so it gives them more movement. But in every other situation, the other 3 positions and situations that I've given you, regardless of time and position, years of service, or the blended model of both, the long-term employee gets a little bit more of an increase than the new employee. We talked a little bit more in depth about the logic between the time and position and years of service, and quite frankly, staff's recommending to go with the blended model of time and position and years of service. And the reason for that is, 1, we don't have a longevity program, and the board has been very confident and very clear that they want to make sure that we're taking care of our long-term employees, which is ensuring that we can retain that knowledge in those long-time employees. We want employees to start with us and retire with us. That's our goal. So this model, by taking into consideration and compensating years of service, it really is a built-in longevity program. The time and position model, it gives us the ability, if we keep this formula and we keep it updated, that we can look at someone, and I use paramedic as an example. We can look at a paramedic that's in another county that has 8 years of experience being a paramedic in an adjacent county. We can plug that into this model, and it can tell us what that starting salary will be, which makes us more competitive to recruit. So this really is kind of the best of both worlds. The time and position model helps us with our recruitment to fill our positions and get the best and most experienced individual for that position. However, the years of service model makes sure that we're not bringing in those new employees and leapfrogging our existing employees that have been with us and have seniority with us. So the blend of the model really helps us accomplish the two things that we've really been looking for is recruitment and retention. So what I've done with each one of these is kind of played out each methodology so you can see it on paper as an example and how it works with the various years of service. I've given you some examples. If you look, you've got the second scenario, the second example. With your long-term employee, they have 11.47 years of service, but they have 1.66 years time in the position. So that's someone that's taken a new position with the county. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, and if there's anything that you want me to specifically cover, I'll be more than happy to do that. But one of the things that we talked about is we need to, the board needs to make a determination as far as which methodology you want to utilize, so we can go back to the consultant. They can run our data based on that formula and that methodology, because there's still work that has to be done once we get that back from the consultant. So again, staff would recommend using the methodology, which is the blended, the column on the far right-hand side, which is the orange heading, using that blended model of time and position and years of service.
So as we talked before at the 4 o'clock, using the blended model, it still comes within the allocated set-aside budget we had set aside previously.
Yes, it does.
Are there any further questions? I know we did a great conversation. We had the opportunity for the consultant to be here. I believe it was on the 19th of November.
Yes.
Went through the slides on that one and was able to share the information with us then, but we still had questions, so we brought it back. And I really believe this right here, this document, has really, it's made it
helps
clearer
explain it.
to see the numbers and the things we've asked for. So,
If I can,
Yes.
if you're ready, before we vote on this, make a motion to do that, I'll be glad to do that, but I'd like to make a motion that we recuse Chairman Connolly, so no one can say he had a conflict of interest being a county employee, since this benefits him as well. I'd like to make that motion to recuse him for this vote.
motion by Commissioner Haupt to allow Chairman Conley to remove himself, recuse himself from this topic. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're unanimous. Any opposed? All right, we're unanimous. We'll continue the conversation without a chairman at this point with the motion. Are there any further questions on the document selecting which way to recommend?
I was just going to, if it's okay with you guys, I was going to make a motion that we approve the blended model as recommended by staff that has the combination of years of service and time in position. And the manager was going to get us at a later date some additional numbers that we can update at a later time, but she needed the methodology tonight, so that's what my
That's
motion
our
would be.
goal for this evening,
Right.
is to get that with that motion.
Make a motion, we approve the blended model with combination of both.
Thank you, Commissioner Haupt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. All right, and that's it. I'll hand it back. Gotta get in.
Now we come down to our public comment period, which will be at our next meeting. It is the second meeting of the month. And now we get into commissioner updates. I'd like to start over with Commissioner Scotty Brown. Do you have anything?
I always like to start with me. I really don't have any updates at this point in time. A lot going on for the Christmas holidays, and we've got lots of parties to go to, so everybody eat slow. Pace yourself. It's going to be a rough Christmas. Off to you.
Mr. Stroud.
I said yesterday, I want to tell each person, member of this board and staff, how appreciative I am at the professionalism, and the dedication that each shows. We obviously are 5 different people who often have different ideas and different and may come to a different outcome, but I appreciate that we're able to come to a mutual agreement in almost everything, and that even when we can't, that this board proudly conducts itself in a professional manner, but is very, in my opinion, very approachable, and what I've been told by almost everyone, that at least we're approachable to the entire citizenry of Iredell County, that we have live, open conversations and discussions, not canned, predetermined comments. And I really do appreciate each of you, and each of us through different things. We call each other, and we share ideas, we share our joys and our frustrations and our thoughts, and we're able to come to that. I get where you're coming from. I may not fully agree, but I appreciate each one of you, and I appreciate the information we get from staff. It is an honor that each of us has to sit up here and represent 200,000 people in this county. One of the best piece of advice I got is no matter what decision you make, the best you're ever going to do is make about half the people happy. No matter what the decision is, you're going to make the other half unhappy. It's been said a couple times by some people recently that we need to remember that every vote we cast up here, or recent votes we make, have consequences. I realize that every vote I make every day has consequences to some people's pocket, to their livelihoods, and I think this board takes it very seriously. So thank you to the citizens of Iredell County that entrust us. And I will tell you, I truly believe this board does have the best of Iredell County in its heart and soul. And, we'll be back for Christmas. So.
Yep. Commissioner Houghton.
I had several things, if y'all would work with me. I had John make a copy on the dais for all of you, and I will get you a copy also of the third item. I'll go over each one. We've all been contacted before by Miss Sandy Mills, and I just want to ask staff for our next meeting to try to give us an update. She had asked previously the animal control director to send out information, I believe, correct me if I misspeak, looking at how many veterinarian clinics in the state, or I mean in the county, I'm sorry, that could potentially handle additional spay neuter work and all that to try to deal with that issue. We all appreciate Ms. Mills' passion in this because, for the years of service, her and many others, I'll just read an excerpt from her email. Those of us who work and volunteer to help the animals in our community simply cannot adopt our way out of this very sad situation. Therefore, animals are being abandoned and or euthanized daily through absolutely no fault of their own. Humane societies, animal control, and rescue organizations are only able to help as many animals as space allows. The way to slow down the flow of animals who are in the pipelines leading to the shelters and rescue groups is sorely needed. We who volunteer animal rescue are absolutely exhausted and they're heartbroken. She'd like for us to consider, a task force or something to where people like that can work with Beth and Christian to help come up with potential grant funding and other types of volunteer donations and things that can help either provide additional space, can legally. I've talked to Commissioner Stroud and Beth about this. I've talked to Senator Sawyer and Representative McNeely and Gray Mills while he was there about some type of legislation that would allow us to do some type of spay neuter stuff at the either subbed out or at our county facility, because right now the law, remind me the name, Brad?
The Practice Act.
Practice Act right now prevents us with competing with veterinarian clinics. So there needs to be an adjustment to that, or if the other veterinarian clinics can take on the additional work, we need to help pursue funding that could help deal with this problem. So I just wanted to bring it back to our attention. We've gotten through the elections and everybody's been busy, but this is an important issue we don't want to see fall through the pipeline. I wanted to just ask staff to get back with us at our next meeting with some type of update, if Christian has it, and you may have it.
And I provided that.
Okay.
And if you remember, one, he did reach out to all the local veterinarians, very, very little response, and they really don't have the capacity
Right.
to take on more. So, and we can't force them. So they're private entities, and we can't force them to do more. But if you'll remember, one of the things we talked about is sending out an RFP to see if there are, to look for some partners and some entities specifically in the southern end of the county, because we don't have a presence as far as a physical location or any kennel space in the southern end of the county. So we've created an RFP that we're putting out to see if there are any partners that are out there that may have available space that will partner with us, where we can expand and have more kennel space there. We've had some preliminary conversations, but we're in the process of putting that out, and the board approved for us to do that. So we are looking to try to do as much as we can, but we can't force the veterinarians in our county to do that. And we are looking for additional kennel space, and the board has also approved us to do a small expansion in addition in our current facility for some more kennel space. So those are direct actions as a result of this that the board has approved for us to do to try to help address this issue. But Ms. Mills is right. It's not something that there's one silver bullet. It's going to take a lot of different things and a lot of different pieces. But as far as, there was a thought that, we could get the vets to participate in this program, and we can't force that. That takes legislation to do that, and we don't have the power and authority to do that.
One thing that I think will help is, I think we need to ask Bert, on behalf of the board, to consider sending a letter to our legislators, because Vicki said, once we send out that correspondence and they reply that they cannot help remedy the problem, that gives them the ability then to try to tweak the legislation to change the law to where it allows us to do some things that if we had that desire to help with, the veterinarian services, because we then wouldn't be competing with them because they can't provide the service. So one of the reasons that when I spoke to them about Christian's correspondence, she said if it comes back to where they can't help have a remedy, that gives her the reason to go try to tweak the law. That would give us the ability to provide services if we desired and could come up with grant funding or funding for that, because we are not competing with them. They can't provide the service.
Because we sub out services now.
We sub out
Dude,
services
yes.
now, but like the one agency, Ms. Mills told me today, is closed down to the first of the year.
Yeah, there's a backlog.
There's a backlog. So we've got to, this problem's not going to get better. So I'm just saying, I'd love for us to they're going into session next year, so I'd love for us maybe to work on a letter to the legislators asking them to tweak that law that allows counties to help remedy the problem when our veterinarian clinics cannot provide the service. And in that case, because we're not taking their business, they can't do it. And I appreciate her passion in this, and I've asked her to reach out to you guys, and a wealth of knowledge and years of compassion. It's heartbreaking about that.
To Commissioner Haupt's point, it's coming at very close secondhand information, if you will. Most of the folks that are in the spay neuter world will tell you they feel like they're trying to empty the ocean with a thimble. Because, if you have one litter of kittens and you miss one, you can have more kittens than the seven that you fixed, and you wind up with more just out of that one. And it's an education process. It's a financial issue. It's and it goes back to one of the things that you can't do. You can't legislate morality and tell folks what they got to do. It's funny. Some people get so very protective over, you ain't neutering my dog, or you're not spaying my cat, or and how much it's better for the health of the animal. But the laws just are such that I don't know that there would be enough money that we could put into it to
Not the problem. Got to help where you can.
Well, you know, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents worth in there because this is close to me, but there's so much money people are donating and it's not getting done. You got these big HSUS, ASPCA, PETA, they're taking in $100 million a year and they don't do anything.
And look at the CEO of not PETA, but AUS, or look at the salary,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, $1 million a year salary, but yet they care about animals. No, they don't. We care about animals, and the local level, we do as much as we can for them, and our employees cry when they have to put something down.
We just got to help if we can.
But you know, our legislature could stop these big companies from taking in money, and the little old lady that send them $19.99 a month, she don't have a clue that she's killing animals. She ain't saving them.
Right.
That's our bureaucratic way of life here in the United States. Ticks me off. But anyway, different story, different day.
I'll go to my second item. A month or two ago, whenever it was, we had people come and speak at public comment asking us to consider doing a non-solicitation, no solicitation ordinance. So I'll just ask Lisa, I'll get Lisa this information. I had John make copies of it. And you maybe have worked on it, but maybe next meeting, just give us an update on if we can do one. There's a specific one I'll give you that's from Lincoln County that has done one. And, and Melissa mentioned earlier, she and I was talking, is there may be some combinations you can look at, Lisa, to where some of the HOAs can either form an HOA that allows restrictions in that area that law enforcement can enforce, and or maybe a combination of a no solicitation ordinance. But so maybe just work on some options. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but a lot of people are getting very frustrated with starting at 8 o'clock in the mornings, and they think a lot of people may be scoping out their neighborhoods to break in and things like that. So I sent you guys that. The third thing I had was Mr. Journey is very passionate, Ken Journey, about some fire stuff. I'll get you all a copy, Beth. I just want to ask Beth to potentially get him to meet with Kent and potentially the consultants. But one of the examples where I think a lot of his information is helpful, you know, we have fire departments asking for additional funding, but one thing that we need to make sure that the districts understand, for example, in these charts that I'm going to give you, it illustrates how the volunteer fire department's insurance ratings reduce the HOA premiums for the homeowners' insurances. Like if we would not have acted in the Wayside situation, you know, its rating cost increases would be 2,700 homes, 400,000 conservative estimate. It'd be a $1 million realistic estimate. Like Lake Norman's fire district down there, you know, they pay 27%, $6+ million in fire tax, and they get allocation, whatever their budget is. But one thing that the district is receiving in return is $6 to $10 million in reduction in premium rates for their HOAs. So we need to make sure our consultants are looking at ways that we can help educate the public of the benefits of the investments we're making in the fire departments. And, you know, they may not be getting a larger budget directly, but their district is getting more benefit in return based on the actions we're taking. So I've sent this information to John to forward out to you guys legally, so I'm not doing it. And I'll get you a copy of this. And the last thing I just want to say, like we said the other day, more to Brad's point, we have the best county in the state. And we'll continue communicating with our legislators. Like the other day, we identified the zoning situation. I talked to Senator Sawyer, and I think she talked to Chairman Connolly. She intends on, in the new legislative session, first of the year, is to try to remedy that zoning issue. They weren't aware it was in the legislation. She asked me to ask Beth to get with Bill Furches and send her the information on the tax. You know, you mentioned that was in that bill too, how it impacted our tax.
Have to advertise.
No, they fixed that.
They did, okay.
That's what I was saying. That was the positive
Fix that.
aspect that's
Okay,
in there,
I got you.
and we had asked for that
Okay.
fix, and it's in that bill.
So she just said, make sure we're getting her what we need, if we need something fixed. And I think it's important for all of us to continue our relationships with our legislators from local to state. And that's all I had. I appreciate the time, but a lot going on.
Vice Chair Nieder.
I'll be brief. I think a lot of it's been covered this evening. One of the, I call it the fun parts of having this role is, as Commissioner Brown referenced, the food. But I spent an evening out at Cooperative Extension with Farm City. Nancy Keith, director over there at Cooperative Extension, shares a lot of great information. Some of it's kind of alarming when we watch our growth rate of how much our agriculture is shrinking. Those are some of the topics we bring up on a regular basis. But Nancy has those facts and figures. But it also gives an opportunity to celebrate. We've got a lot of great agricultural members of our community, everything from the farming part to the consumption part to the ones who just, the middleman, everything. It's a lot of hands involved in that. But it gave an opportunity to recognize those folks and to honor the Farmer of the Year. So those are some of the great opportunities we have. We recognize, we celebrate, and it is like part of being a family too. So just honored to have the opportunity to continue to serve. I'm glad to be here. I'll pass it back to you, Chairman.
Only thing I have is just tell everybody thank you. Thank you to everybody up on the board. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to everybody that we deal with. And we just celebrated Thanksgiving, and we really have a lot to be thankful for. I know there's a lot of problems going on in this country and this world, but we really, truly, truly have a lot to be thankful for.
Yep.
Each and every one of us, regardless of the situations, but we all do. There's a silver lining in almost every situation. You may not think it right now, but it is there somewhere. Anybody have any new business? And it comes down to county manager report, and I'll turn it over to you, ma'am.
I'm just going to take a little liberty, and I won't take long, but I do want to say this. December is a very stressful time for a lot of managers throughout the state of North Carolina. So, and I've talked to a lot of counterparts that have new board members that are coming in, that, elections have changed the board, and they're having to do a complete about-face, and they're having to change, and the direction is changing, and things of that nature. And we've gone through that as well. We've had elections where we were going in one direction, and come December, and a new board, comes in, and we do a complete different about-face and go in a different direction. I think it speaks volumes that we had all three of our incumbents reelected, because that says that the direction that this board was going in is still in the right direction. And it speaks volumes to the fact that you're listening to your constituents and making sure that you're going in the direction and trying to address the issues that are forefront on their mind. I look back over the past couple years and, short-term rentals, growth, schools, all of these things. These are very difficult issues that this board has tackled and has not turned a blind eye to any of them. You have stepped up and you've said, okay, let's see if we can fix this. Going on to what Commissioner Stroud said, that fix doesn't make everybody happy all the time. It doesn't. You hope you make the majority happy most of the time. But sometimes what everybody thinks is the right fix, you don't have the legal authority to fix. And that's frustrating, and I know that. And I know sometimes when the board looks at staff and says, okay, this is what we need to do, let's do this, and staff comes back and says, we can't do that. That's not legal. We don't have the power and authority to do that. I know that's frustrating to you guys, but you don't give up, and you continue to work, and you continue to find solutions, and I appreciate that. This is not a board that gives up, and this is a board that is headed in the right direction and truly cares and truly wants to make Iredell County the premier place to live and raise a family and work as well. So as I talk to the other managers throughout the state, and I hear their woes, I am very thankful. I am very thankful. I'm very thankful for our staff. Our staff are amazing, and they care. And we're led by a board that cares. So I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you for that, and congratulations to our incumbents. and being willing to serve again, because my goodness, the job you do is very difficult, and you get more criticism than you do appreciation and thanks. And if anybody knows that, I certainly know that. And I am sorry for that. I know that you guys get beat up every time you turn around. But as someone that sees how hard you're working in the background and trying to do the right thing every time, and how just defeated sometimes you feel, but you don't give up, I say thank you. And I appreciate each and every one of you, and being willing to serve again. That speaks volumes. That is a true servant's heart, because this job, that job that you five do is not for the faint of heart, I can guarantee you. And your families take a sacrifice too. When you put your name on that line and your name is on that ballot, your family takes hits too. So I appreciate them as well for allowing you guys to serve.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am. We did have a closed session earlier, attorney-client and economic development with no action taken. This comes down to the end. Anyone have anything else? All hearts free. I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Brown. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
That's the way to hit the gavel. That's it.
How about